hit by a second tropical system just a day after getting hit this morning.
Take a look at the last 24 hours of Hurricane Charley now. Continues to move across the Cayman Islands earlier today, and now it's pretty much making landfall on Cuba at this time as a Category 2 hurricane. Sustained winds 105 miles per hour. It's 55 miles south of Havana, Cuba. Continues to move towards the north-northwest at 14 miles an hour.
We have team coverage of Hurricane Charley tonight. Jim Cantori in Lee County, Florida, near Fort Myers. And Jeff Morrow is in North Reddington Beach, just to the west of Tampa. Let's begin with Jim Cantori, who was one of the evacuees earlier today from Sanibel Island.
And Jim, typically before a hurricane approaches, we have descending air, sinking air, and it seems like it has been a warm day and even a very hot evening right now.
You know, Paul, it was amazing. For the last couple of hours, we had no wave action. I'm standing on the bay. We had no wind. And, of course, I got eaten alive by mosquitoes. But needless to say, it was just an eerie calm. You couldn't hear a cricket chirp. You couldn't hear a bird tweeting in the trees. That eerie feeling that we feel every once so often we're coming out here covering hurricanes. So an interesting situation. Obviously, the animal's trying to tell us something here. Let's talk about Charley's impacts here a little bit. Approximately 6.5 million people will be affected by Charley. That's tremendous, or in Charley's path. And again, we broadcast from the coast, but Tampa, Orlando, Ocala, Gainesville, Jacksonville, this is as big a deal to you as it is along the coastline. So I want you to keep an eye out for this thing. Let me show you some pictures of what we saw over the bay before the sunset today. A beautiful sight, and one that didn't hurt anybody. A water spout. This thing popped right up over the bay, spun its way right across and weakened in the trees, but in the process pretty much scared a few fishermen out there as it made its way on across. But I've never seen a water spout. I've been out here doing this for quite a few years, since 1992, and never seen a water spout before. So again, as I mentioned, scaring a few fishermen, but that's about all the damage it did. We can only hope that Charley has as weakened impacts, but I'm afraid it's not going to be the case. Well, evacuations will continue overnight tonight, I hope, folks. If you're thinking about it, if you're teetering, just get the heck out of here. Don't worry about it. Get what you have to have done. Let's go up toward Tampa and bring in Jeff Morrow tonight. Jeff, are people still evacuating tonight? And if they are, is it a light evacuation or is it pretty steady still?
I think it's getting lighter now that we've gone through the evening. I think there was a big rush to evacuate when the mandatory started at about 6. A lot of the tourists really hung out here until the very last minute, until they had to go, and then they pretty much left. In fact, you can see the result of that. Some folks really stacked up on some of the causeways and bridges around the Tampa-St. Petersburg area. And again, the average speed on some of these causeways was anywhere between 20 miles an hour and 0. It was really stop and go. But things have improved a little bit now. Now, of course, people are evacuating, but they have to have a place to evacuate to, and that's where the American Red Cross oftentimes comes in a situation like this. And this is Peter Tehan with the American Red Cross. And Peter, tell me a little bit about what you're doing here around this area.
Jeff, we're here trying to educate people, trying to get them, motivate them to get off the island, get to shelters. And Red Cross has shelters open all throughout Florida. More will open in the morning. We encourage people to be smart, be safe, get to the shelter. If they need to know where the shelters are at or other emergency needs, they can contact Red Cross at 866-GET-INFO to find out how to address their emergency needs tomorrow.
Now, when they're evacuating, are there things that they really should do around their home before they evacuate, or things they should bring with them?
The key thing is what you bring with it. Looking at the important things, medicines, your prescriptions, glasses, important documents like insurance policies, photographs of your possession so you have it for your insurance claim, passports, things that you can use to identify when the storm is over with.
All right, thank you very much. That was Peter Tehan with the American Red Cross, and of course the Red Cross is always here to help in situations like this, and we're glad they are. Jim, let's get back to you.
Indeed, I'll second that, Jeff. Let's bring in our hurricane expert, Dr. Steve Lyons, now. And Steve, some new information coming from the Hurricane Hunter plane, is that correct?
That's right. Just when you think they've gone home, these tireless guys are still out there flying into it. We have a new fix. The pressure's down to 973 millibars, and their quote is "eye becoming more symmetric." And we can definitely verify that with the radar. Look at this symmetric eye coming right up toward Havana, or just to the west of Havana, moving just ever so slightly west of due north. It's going to continue to go more north. Now you say, Steve, that looks sort of like a wimpy eye. Why isn't that yellow, and where's all the rain on the south side? It's so far away that the radar is overshooting the storm, and it can't see all this heavy rain. As this comes in closer, you're going to see a bright yellow eye core here coming up toward just probably barely to the west of the Florida, Key West, Florida, and near the dry Tortugas over the next 12 to 18 hours. Now, what else is going on here? We expect from a Category 3 hurricane what kind of surge along the coastline of Florida. Let's look over here and see what we've got. You can see here, if a direct hit were to hit some of these areas, these are the type of surge heights we would get. It would have to hit a right front quadrant directly there. Jennifer?
Well, stay with us. We'll have more on Charley and the forecast after this.